Oh geez, man, just a whole bunch of welcome back. Se7enTV, and today we celebrate. It is that magical time of year again. The weather is crisp, and the white girls are making this time of year their focal point of their personality. I love this time of year. It's fall, and I'm a spooky girl. Everybody likes Halloween. You think the rest of the year you're gonna be a boring cookie-cutter white woman, and then for 2 months out of fall, you're gonna make orange leaves and ghouls a part of your person, Rebecca? I'm not like other girls. I watch horror movies and I like spooky stuff. I'm a spooky girly. What were we talking about? It is Halloween. I love this time of year like everyone does. And today we're gonna do something special. We are going to talk about one of the greatest bad guys that has ever existed in human history and all of his forms. I think that counts. Talk about like a villain, right? During Halloweeny time. I think that fits theme. I think I'm fitting theme. Sonic the Hedgehog is one of the most popular characters that has ever existed in life. For better or for worse. He's got a lot going on, but a fantastic antagonist to boot. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about Eggman. Dr. Robotnik, whatever generation you came from. This guy has had so many different versions of himself. So many different kinds of Eggmen that have existed throughout history. Some of them great, some of them were a little lackluster, some of them were just way too serious. If I'm missing any iteration of Eggman that may have been like important, just let me know, but I think I covered most, if not all of them. But I cannot do this not in costume. Ha! Prepare for trouble, you little bitch. You have to peep the boots. They were very expensive. They don't show on camera. I don't know what I was thinking. All right, now we go over a couple of rules for the Eggman ranking video. Capacity to be evil. A bad guy is a bad guy is a bad guy, and this bad guy needs to do bad shit. Come on now. Capacity to be jovial. One of the best things about Robotnik is many, if not all of his different versions, have the capacity to be comical and lighthearted between bouts of bad shit. And third of all, his henchmen. Robotnik has had many different henchmen in his time, and we're gonna take a look at each of them. Okay, so like, spoiler alert, I have like a deep hatred for comic relief characters. Talking animal companions, Olaf is straight up cancer. Unfortunately, Robotnik's henchmen have all been essentially comic relief characters, so they are mostly going to be hated with almost a sexual passion.
Get a load of this!
This dude right here is the Nike Air Force Ones of Eggman. This adorable round-shaped man was never actually called Eggman, where he was still called Dr. Robotnik at this point in his existence. He's a solid bad guy with some good boss battles. He gave the first few Sonic games genuine depth into the lore of the Sonic universe, as the colorful green and natural landscapes were under threat of Robotnik's tyrannical and technological rule, threatening to take away all the nature and replace it with metal and sadness. I wouldn't say he has too much playfulness, though this Eggman isn't much of a talker. He has no discernible henchmen in this version. A lot of people will lump this Eggman together with modern Eggman, but to be honest with you, I don't. This guy is all his own, and a bit more straightforward with his planning, with less of a playfulness about him in his hunt for the Chaos Emeralds, and using Chaos the monster in his plans for domination. From his interactions with Sonic, domesticating Chaos, and giving orders to Gamma, he really isn't all that jokey. If I had to say he had a lackey in this game, I'd say it was Chaos, if only for a short time before he turns on him. This Eggman is the definitive Eggman that you'll see in more Sonic media than any other version. I consider him the official Eggman from Sonic Adventure 2 onward, where he was playable for the first time ever in a Sonic game. He's represented every Sonic game so far, a large number of the comics, and even in Sonic X, the cringe-inducing Sonic anime that existed for a number of years. This guy is the most prominent design for Robotnik, balancing a jovial and more relaxed side with the serious and even ruthlessness of his evil schemes. This version of Eggman has actually had multiple henchmen under his employ. However, I'm gonna split it up in a more simple manner. I feel that this Eggman is a perfect balance with evil and funny. Bada bing. If you're a fan of early internet culture and classic YouTube poop level memes, you know this Eggman. He's famous for the Pingus meme, a voice line that was cut out and used mercilessly in early internet humor.
Now go and mop up the dungeon! Snooping as usual, I see.
His character in terms of the show is one of my favorite. This is the definitive Eggman in terms of silly Saturday morning cartoon villainy. He's a goofy loser with the potential to do some seriously bad shit, but at the same time he never succeeds because that's what the plot calls for. A funny villain that can give you that, oh man, what if Sonic and Tails get beaten this week by Robotnik? And even if you know in your heart they never will, you can still have a good time watching the show. This Robotnik has another pair of robotic henchmen named Scratch and Grounder. I do like Scratch and Grounder a bit more than the average henchmen though. They're funny and goofy in the same way Eggman is, but as his subordinates. They were also the subject of the first episode of The Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, as the episode centered around Scratch and Grounder's creation by Dr. Eggman, and how they immediately began their track record losing to Sonic and Tails on a regular basis. This bulbous little man is all business. Listen to that effing voice.
Before this day is done, you and the Power Rings will be right in the palm of my hand.
This is the dark and gritty Saturday morning Sonic cartoon, and with a dark and gritty Robotnik to boot. While the other Robotniks will capture and use characters as bait, steal their energy or their powers, and generally do less harmful things, this is the Eggman that will torture you slowly before skinning you alive and locking your bloody carcass into a metallic shell post-lobotomy so you can live out your days in endless physical torture while mentally toiling away as his personal slave. This is the Halloween episode, I do apologize. No, but seriously, that's actually the main plot point of this and the Archie Sonic comics. The Robotnik uses what is known as roboticizing, a form of using one of the animal characters' bodies and turning them into a mindless robotic slave that he'll use to further destroy or torture Sonic's friends. It's actually canon that being roboticized is actually unreversible, though Bunny Rabbit and Sonic's Uncle Chuck are some plot-heavy exceptions. This Eggman did not come to fuck around with any of you, and would be a dangerous addition to any furry convention. His henchman is actually his canonical nephew, Snively, a pretty subservient but also loyal and intelligent young scientist who takes the brunt of Robotnik's anger but also does his best to please his uncle any way he can. Snively ain't exactly a fan favorite of mine, but I do consider him a big part of Sonic's cartoon past, as he was never just a one-off character. Yeah, I know, you all hate Sonic Boom. Guess who doesn't care? Ding, time's up, me. This Eggman is more goof than threat, in the sense that the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog made their Eggman a quirky but determined bad guy. This Eggman is seen on numerous occasions befriending most of the protagonist characters in social situations. It's essentially the juxtaposition of, hey, he's supposed to be the bad guy, why is he sleeping over at Sonic's house? Yup. The humor of this show as a whole I enjoy so much, but this Eggman is not menacing. I never feel like he has the capacity to do anything that will give these heroes a genuine problem. He's a goof who schedules when it's time to be a bad guy and will pause the fight to say something quirky or fourth wall breaking to Sonic and company. It's lacking the charm of this guy, and he already did it very well years prior. Orbot and Cubot are the henchmen of Boom, and I'll tell you a bit about them if it weren't exactly what I said for Scratch, Grounder, Deco, and Boko, and everybody else who's a henchman to Eggman. They've got more personality with much more pronounced voices and more screen time as the comic relief. I will give them that. Orbot is considered to be the sassy one, while Cubot is an idiot because for some reason Eggman always needs at least one henchman to be a fucking moron. Fun fact, their model numbers actually reflect their personalities, with Orbot's being SA55 being the word sass, and Cubot's being IDI07, spelling idiot. They actually had 0 design changes between 2 different Eggmen, which appearing in Sonic Unleashed Forward and then being in Sonic Boom.
Can't you learn your egg things? That's you. That's what you sound like.
Dude, ew. This Eggman was supposed to be the mainstay for Sonic's big reboot back in 2006, with the game that became known as one of the worst video games to ever be shared publicly. Sonic 06 Eggman is really just a disgusting, hyper-realistic version of the character that's been a cartoon all his life. So like everything else this game tried to do, this was a disgusting design failure in a massive way. He's somewhat menacing, but the most forgettable out of all the Robotniks on the list. Doesn't even come with henchmen, but that's a good thing when you consider the crap designs of everything else. The live-action Eggman that honestly matched Sonic's revamped design. Jim Carrey cared so much about the role that he broke his rule of not playing the same character twice by coming back 3 separate times for this franchise. A lot of people say, and I agree 100%, that the live-action Sonic suffered negativity because of all the human elements. If you don't believe me, watch the second movie and its plethora of entire scenes where it's a bunch of idiot human characters bumbling around fighting other humans instead of, the characters we came here for. If it were my choice, it would just be all the animals and then Jim fucking Carrey in a big flying metal thingy. Like every other game. I like this Eggman. Him not being fat until the literal third movie aside, you can tell Carrey put a lot of love and personality into the adaptation of the Doctor. His henchman is Agent Stone, and my only assessment of this is that they didn't have the money in the budget to add any of his recognizable robot henchmen, so they just added a dude. Stone's whatever to me, he's very hit or miss. Like, he's fine, but I really don't care. He's mostly just another bumbling human character that could have been pushed aside for more screen time for the characters that, we
Came here for!
Hello all. Well, it's the end of the Halloween Eggman ranking video, and I gotta be perfectly honest with everybody, the ending of this video is going to be a little lesson on life. If you're watching this, it's probably like early November right now, because between working 2 jobs and having crippling ADHD, I didn't finish the Halloween video until much later. Also, for a guy making a ranking video, I didn't even freaking, put together me filming the actual final ranking of all the characters. Now, this is a pretty big oopsie, especially for somebody who wants to make content on a full-time level, but if you do enjoy my stuff in any capacity, and you would like to help me be able to devote more time to maybe making this content in the first place, you can always check out my Patreon. I'm not the type of person who's going to be shilling it and pushing it constantly, but it would be nice if some people could not only watch my stuff, share my stuff, or check out any way to support me. That being said, this is the ranking. This is so lazy. This is the final ranking for the best version of Dr. Robotnik / Eggman of all time. I know, this is super lazy. Look, it's 2 in the morning. I'll never do it again, I promise. All right, to keep the Halloween-esque theme here, put a bat on screen or something. There we go, make it fly. We'll start this one from the bottom and go up. Last place is certainly the hyper-realistic Sonic 06 Eggman. I'm sorry, Jesus Christ, what were they thinking with the nipple code? Then we have Sonic Boom's Eggman. Much as I like the humor of this show and this character, a good Eggman can balance out his goofiness with the threat of actual danger. Next is the Sonic Adventure Eggman. There's no laughs to be had. This is an Eggman that is all business and nothing else to balance him out. Next is the Se7enTV Robotnik. Too gravelly and dark. It's like Eggman from the DC universe, except it doesn't suck as bad. Next up is the Sonic movie Eggman. You can very much appreciate him overall, especially since live action wasn't going to be the easiest thing to adapt. And he's good for what it's worth, but the animated antics and borderline psychosis this Eggman experiences isn't as faithful as the Good Doctor is known for. Again, it fits the movie's tone very well, but it loses compared to other Robotniks. Final 3. Third place goes to the original Eggman from the Genesis era. He paved the way for the Doctor's future, personality, and everything else without a single line of dialogue. That has to be appreciated. Second place is the modern Eggman that we all know and love. He balances his goofiness with the threateningness, is that a word? All in one, and it's very highly appreciated of a character that goes down in gaming villain history. And number 1, at least in my opinion, goes to the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, Eggman. Dude is hilarious, but he's also a menace, and he forces Sonic to stay on his toes. Overall, my favorite Eggman to watch personally on television, but I'd wager most people's pick for number 1 would be modern Eggman. And that's okay, this is my video. You lost. Happy Halloween, Se7enTV. I hope you enjoyed. Please subscribe, check out all of my other social stuff and whatnot. Look at Patreon if you'd like. If not, you don't have to like, that's okay. They don't tell you how hot this hat is. Giovanni does not mention that when you join.
Daba daba,